Welcome to our lesson about simulation options. Let's open the Options dialog window from the Simulation drop-down menu. First here, under the General branch on the System Options tab, there's a What's Wrong Messages section. We can choose to show errors and show warnings. The Show Errors option will display the red error icon next to a feature. The Show Warning option will display the yellow exclamation icon, as we saw next to the Mesh folder when the mesh was not updated in one of our previous lessons. Down below, we've got the option to display the load and fixture symbols in wireframe or in shaded mode. Under Mesh Colors, we can choose the color of the mesh as well and the shell bottom face color. Currently, it's orange. Let's take a look at some of the Result Plots options. Dynamic Plot Update. If the parameters that control this plot change, it's a good idea to keep this box unchecked. Otherwise, SOLIDWORKS will update this plot when you're not intending it to do so, and you may have to wait for it to process. List result quantities in higher precision. This option lets you list results with up to 16-digit precision. The next option is Show Yield Strength Marker for von Mises plots. This option will give you an error message in the stress chart at which point the material will fail. Now let's go to the Default Library branch. SOLIDWORKS uses three types of libraries: the Material Library, the Function Curve Library, and the Analysis Library. I've only got two of these installed here. You can add or delete the library location using these buttons. Now let's go to the Default Options tab. The first branch is Units. Here we choose our unit system, SI, English, or metric. We can also change the individual units within the unit system. For example, for length under the English Imperial System, I'm still able to use millimeters as my unit of measurement. Let's go back to inches. The next branch is Load Fixture. Here we can adjust the symbol size and the symbol color. Let's go to the Mesh branch. Here we can specify the mesh quality. If draft quality is selected, solid mesh elements will have only 4 nodes and shell elements will have 3 nodes. This, of course, will create a fast mesh, but the result will be less accurate. The reason for using a draft mesh would be, for example, when you've got very complex geometry and you just need to verify that your settings are accurate to save time. After you do the test at draft quality, you should restore to high quality. With high mesh quality, each solid mesh will have 10 nodes. Each shell element will have 6 nodes. Underneath, we have a feature called Jacobian points. This has to do with the mesh quality. Here we can set the number of points from this drop-down menu. This is used to validate the quality of the mesh. If, during the mesh creation, this check fails, the mesh will adjust to pass the Jacobian point. If SOLIDWORKS can't adjust the mesh enough, it'll fail and you'll get the build error. Now let's take a look at the options under Mesher Type. We can choose between Standard Mesher Type and Curvature-based Mesher Type. If the standard measure-based type is selected, we have a number of additional options. And we've actually already looked at a number of these options in a previous lesson. Let's go to the Results branch now. Here we specify the default solver, Automatic, Direct Sparse, or FFE+. The Results folder section is where we specify the location of result files. Results files are pretty large and they're stored outside of the SOLIDWORKS part assembly files. We can also specify the result folder location. Select User Defined and then browse for your desired location. Now let's take a look at the Plot tab. Here we can choose to display annotation for the minimum and maximum values. We can also control how colors are displayed. Continuous allows for a smooth transition. Discrete makes a visible border between colors. The boundary options control the representation of the model. Lastly, here we can specify whether to show the model in an undeformed or deformed version. If deformed shape is selected, we've got some other options too. For example, we can superimpose the original model on the deformed shape. Next is the Color Chart branch. We're able to show it or hide it, specify predefined positions on the screen, or select user-defined positions. We can control the thickness of the chart also, wide, normal, or thin. The number format can be scientific, floating, or general. General is a mix of scientific and floating based on the results. The maximum number of decimal points allowed is 16. Color options. We can also specify rainbow, grayscale, or user-defined. Next, we've got default plot options. In simulation, we worked only with static studies, where we had 3 default plots. If I select the plot, we can select results type and results component. Right-clicking lets us delete a plot. Right-click on a study to add a new plot and a new folder. Now let's take a look at the User Information branch. Here we can input a corporate name and logo. The last option here is Study Report. Here we can edit the report style. Down below we can choose a report path, just click Browse, and we can choose to publish the report as HTML or Word. Let's cancel out of this window. And this concludes our tutorial about additional simulation options.